Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine. My name is Killjoy, and today I want to talk about developers and publishers being a bit rubbish. It's going to be a little bit different because I'm just going to play Sanctum Tower Defense in the background just because it's easy to play and do this at the same time. But yeah, this is a video I wanted to do for a long time. It's a long time coming, and quite frankly, I'm a little bit sick of the rubbish that game developers keep seeming to want to pull for people. But we're going to go over a lot of stuff today. But the main gist of it is there are certain companies that are essentially, in my mind, ruining or making poor decisions that are ruining my fun of gaming and other people's fun, and it's just like a lot of anti-consumer stuff, or at least it feels like that anyway, and I want to see this stuff kind of go away, basically. It is frustrating to see that this stuff keeps happening, but you know, what can you do? But yeah, so let me just give you an example of some of the companies that I think are essentially causing a problem, and most of these companies on here aren't going to be surprising anyone, I don't think. We've got I've got EA down here, I've got Activision down here, Take-Two, Rockstar, 2K, Gearbox, Bethesda, Warner Brothers. You know, some of the big companies known for, as you probably guessed it, monetization of things and just poor decisions. Now, that's not every company. There are other companies out there that make bad decisions and things like that as well. But as of right now, these companies on here I've written, I want to talk about because they're the ones that I'm sort of sick of hearing about and frustrated with, because they're the ones causing a lot of problems, and it's getting pretty mighty frustrating now at this point. So yeah, we're gonna go over that. But yeah, essentially, let's start with EA. Now, EA is a company I have personally been boycotting for about 2 years now, I believe. It's about 2 years, and the reason for this is simply because I'm just, a lot of the decisions that they have made in recent times with some of the games they've released have been bad decision after bad decision. You know, you look at Anthem, probably one of the most recent decisions, and I know some of that was BioWare as well, but terrible game, came out with this whole live service stuff. You're seeing aggressive monetization from places like EA with their sports games, where, you know, FIFA, you're hearing stories of people spending, or kids spending, insane amounts of money. And it just feels like they're a company that they really are just, hey, we're just going to make as much money out of people, we don't care about making a good game anymore. I mean, I don't remember a FIFA game having a massive jump like they used to over the years, and that their other sports games, they're all just very much like yearly, you know, year on year they're going to be different, but that's it. There's no like, we're not seeing like massive improvements, and it just seems like really they constantly just want to mess over people. You saw what happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and how bad the loot box situation got with them. We've seen recently with the whole surprise mechanic stuff that they've come out in the UK and talked about, and they're just a company that I just think are incredibly scummy. And I have, the last game I think I bought by them was FIFA 18, so it's about 2 years ago, and I haven't bought a single product by them since. I won't buy anything that's published by them, and I won't buy anything that they make anymore, like, which is such a shame, because I've got Time Splitters Future Perfect right in front of me here for the GameCube, which was published by them and made by Free Radical, and that was a great game. But yeah, they've just been absolute scum. So like, they're actually one company that I'm currently boycotting. Onto another company that I'm also pretty miffed off with at the moment, Activision. Activision have also made some pretty horrible decisions of late. And yeah, they also have been putting microtransactions into a lot of their games, but after the fact, so that when people have been reviewing them, they haven't had the chance to just be like, hey, there are microtransactions coming. Nope, it's been, you'll put them in after the fact, after the reviews go out. Now the game's got good reviews, now we'll put microtransactions in it. And yeah, that's pretty shady. That's a pretty shady business practice. Like EA, they are putting so much time into like monetizing their games, trying to force the player to spend as much as possible. You know, a lot of these games are coming out at you know, at 30, 40, 50 pound, and then they want to make you buy all these microtransactions, or they want you to buy loot boxes, and it's just like, wow, like, they're really just blunt about it. It's like right up in your face, we just want you to spend all this money. And then the other companies I mentioned on here, like Take-Two, Rockstar, 2K, Gearbox, all kind of under the same one as well. I'll get to them a bit later on, because I think they're also a company that are heading that way. They're not quite on my... Apart from Rockstar. Rockstar are definitely on my boycott list, because of their recent decision to put a casino into Grand Theft Auto 5. And instead of just putting a casino in, they decided, hey, let's make people spend real-world money on this. Why? Why did you need to make people spend real-world money on it? There's like absolutely no reason. You could literally just put a flipping casino in without actually having or forcing the player to then spend money. Like, there was no need for it whatsoever. And that's just goes to show, like, that's a game that people like. That's a game that also has aggressive monetization in it. So why can't you just let the players use their in-game cash that you can only get from playing the game to use that in the casino? Why do you need to make sure that people are also spending real money so that they can get like so-called chips or whatever it is to then use that to spend? You don't. That's just like, it's unbelievably disgusting. Unbelievably disgusting, like what they're doing with that. And I like, when I heard that story, that was just instantly like, I'm never buying another Rockstar product ever. And a lot of these boycotts, so EA, Activision and Rockstar are currently the only companies I'm boycotting, because I feel like these companies are not, I've ruined my, like, I have no trust in these companies anymore. Crash Team Racing was a game that I really wanted to play. Then Activision laid off a bunch of their staff. And I was like, well, this isn't cool. Like, you know, Bobby Kotick, the CEO, is taking all this money and they're going to lay off all these staff, like 800 people jobless. So that happens. So I'm like, well, you know what, I'm not going to buy your products anymore. Crash Team Racing comes out, a game that I really wanted to play. Still haven't bought it, still haven't played it. Recently they're like, oh, we've just added microtransactions. Why? Why did you need to put microtransactions in a game like that? A game that people absolutely love from memory, and you've just gone and done that. Like, it's decisions like that that are frustrating. When companies do things like that, it's just like, why? It's completely unnecessary, you didn't need it. Crash Team Racing was, even though it was going to be a good seller, was never going to be your Call of Duty, where you expect to see these shady mechanics. And that is exactly the kind of problem that the industry has at the moment, where we're seeing so many companies doing shady things, and it's frustrating. I mean, the whole point is, for me, it's like, I want to be able to reward a game developer or a publisher or whatever who's made a good game, and then decide whether I want to give them more money. I get to decide whether they get more money, not them being like, hey, we're going to take more of your money. It's like, that's not how it works. When a game came out, I'll take a really good example, or an example, sorry, of a game that I loved, I spent money on, and then bought the DLC. Breath of the Wild. Alright, when Breath of the Wild came out, they announced the expansion pass probably earlier than they should have, because the game wasn't even out yet. But I bought Breath of the Wild, loved the game, and then decided, hey, I'm going to buy the expansion pass because I want more of this content. The game was amazing in my opinion, so why shouldn't I support them? I'm okay with that. That was down to me, that was my decision. Rather than this stuff being forced in my face, or even in single player games. I think it was Shadow of War, we've seen it with other games as well, where a single player game has microtransactions, which then means the grind, if it's an RPG, the grind is then being messed with. You cannot trust a company not to have messed with the grinding of, you know, leveling up and things, when microtransactions are there with boosters, with things to help you get through those levels quicker. And they call it player choice, and it isn't player choice. It's like, no, we're going to mess with this game just enough so that you have to then go about and play the game our way. We want you to spend money. No. And we saw that with Shadow of War, where they took it out after a while. They didn't need it. It was all that just to gain more money. And that was, I mean, Warner Brothers being absolute asses about it. Completely unnecessary with the whole thing. And it's stuff like that that frustrates me, because it's an industry that wants to grow and wants to keep player base. They want all these live service games now where you keep going back and spending money and keep playing these games. But they're not building any confidence in their player base. They're not building any confidence in their customers. Like, how are people expected to keep playing these games by these companies when, you know, most of these companies are just constantly trying to mess over their fan base? It's like, why? You don't need to. Like, what are you doing? Like, why would you try and keep doing these poor decisions after poor decisions? You're seeing more and more now the pushback from more people, where they don't want to play these games, they don't want to support these companies. Like I said, you're not building any trust. Nobody trusts these companies anymore. Bethesda, Fallout 76, what an absolute train wreck that was when it first came out. You know, that's a game that I don't know why they forced it out the door when they did, but then you had Todd Howard admitting to, like, hey, we knew this game wasn't going to be great on launch, but it would be later down the line. Don't say that. No, you've literally given people were right all along. You're an idiot. But then people aren't stupid either. There were videos online of this, and so that means people no longer trust Bethesda until they've made more games. Games to prove that they can do better. They can be better. They're not taking their customer base as fools. They've added microtransactions in that were for Fallout 76, which was originally they said it would just be cosmetics, and now it's no longer that. And it's stuff like this. It's just one thing after another with these big publishers and some of these developers where they are making poor decisions. And it's that attitude of how much money can we make, and then we'll make a game around that. I mean, whether that's the case or not, that's how it feels. And this whole idea, oh, it's player choice, we give players choice. No, you don't. If you've got a single player game with microtransactions in it that can help speed up the process of you leveling up, you've actively messed with how the game should work. Don't do that. Like, I am one of these people that is turned off when I see a game with microtransactions in it, when I see a game with loot boxes in it that isn't free to play. And the reason for that is because I've seen so many times where the monetization is too aggressive, it's too in my face, it massively skews what the game is. And that's not good. It's not good to see. It's like disappointing to see, if anything. And it's just like, well, how am I expected to like play these games and have fun when I know that they've been messed with? And that's the big problem for me, is like, I don't want to play a game that's been messed with. So I'm not going to. Simple as that. But, you know, I do this off my own back. I choose to do this because that's how I feel. But I'm not the only one. You see this with people where they're just like, hey, we don't want these kind of mechanics. Like, if you're going to make a free-to-play game, the free-to-play game comes out and it's got microtransactions in it, or it's got loot boxes in it. Fine, whatever. You know, I'm not paying up front. I can then decide whether I want to buy into those mechanics or I want to buy the boosters or whatever. That's fine. This is like the mobile tactics. And we've seen more and more as time's gone on free-to-play mechanics that are just so ripe within these upfront costs. So games don't cost the initial cost anymore. Not with DLC, not with the cost of the game, and then with microtransactions, loot boxes, anything else that requires you to spend money on it. They're just not. We're just at a point now where, you know, if you buy a game, they're like, whatever cost it comes out of, it's probably going to be double that by the time you're finished with it, because depending on what the publisher adds in, depending on what the developer adds in, you're still spending a lot more money on it. Loot boxes anyway are a massively difficult subject to talk about because of the amount of controversy on them. I don't like loot boxes unless you can get them very easily without spending money. Like, if there's a choice there where it's like, Heroes of the Storm, let's take that. In Heroes of the Storm you can get loot boxes fairly easy. Most of the stuff in them are rubbish, but you can get them. But that game also lets you buy everything individually. That game also lets you get most things for free with gold. It's all probably a bit skewed again, like, but at least there's options there. I'm not saying it's perfect, it's definitely not a perfect system, but I'm not forced to just get content from one random box. I can get it from other places. So it all comes down to essentially how they've done it. How are you showing me, are you locking me into a game and basically saying, hey, if you want to get cool stuff, you have to buy these random boxes that have a random chance to get the item that you want? Or are you saying, hey, look, you can buy this pack and you'll get X amount of these? You know, what's the way you're going about it, basically? And that massively affects if I want to play a game or not. The biggest problem with some of these games is that games just fall flat, where they should have put more effort into the game, but they have focused too much on the monetization. They focus too much about how much money can we make out of someone, and then the game just falls flat. Fallout 76, Anthem, you know, games that are these live service games. But even things like Call of Duty, I haven't played Call of Duty for a while. I never really hated it, but it was just something I just stopped playing. And then you see stuff where it's like they're adding microtransactions in, they're adding loot boxes in, and like, oh, it's just it doesn't inspire me to then go play the game. It puts me off. And I know that there are more warnings on games now saying, hey, this has in-game transactions, and which is good, but it's just the type of thing that I just don't enjoy. Like, I just think, oh great, this game's trying to actively force me to spend money. Especially with single-player games. Like, I don't want to see that in single-player games, because I'm there to enjoy the experience. I'm like, hey, I don't want to play online, I want to play this really good story. Oh wait, you've crammed it full of microtransactions. I don't want to see that. That's not great. But it's just how it is. And I think this is the thing, it's like, be upfront about all this stuff. When a game's coming out, be upfront, being like, hey, we're going to have this, we're going to have these mechanics in our game. Why have you got those mechanics? What does it benefit the player? How aggressive are you going to be doing that? You know, like, we don't want to... I want to see companies be upfront about it. If you're upfront about it, then more likely, often than not, people will be okay with it. But if you're not upfront about it and then try and be really sly, then it's like, well, yeah, of course I don't want to buy your loot boxes. Of course I don't want to buy your stuff. It's just like, it's not the kind of thing that I want to invest into. I don't want to see that. You know, this is why I think it's really important with DLC. Well, I wrote a few games down here, like Smash Brothers, StarCraft 2 when it originally came out, Borderlands 2 before all the controversy with the third one. You know, these were games where it was like, I bought a game, I got a hell of a good game experience, like what I felt was worth my money, and then they got to say, hey, DLC is really cool, like your base game is really good, you've made some DLC with some like expansion packs, or whatever it is that you've made. I can choose to buy into that and make that decision for myself. Now I bring up Borderlands 2 because Borderlands 3 is on its way, and we've seen Gearbox constantly making fools of themselves, or Randy Pitchford in this case, making a fool of himself, and all the controversy surrounding him at the moment. We've then got the stuff recently with 2K, Take-Two, and Gearbox, with this recent YouTuber that they've been attacking, harassing. And quite frankly, like, I'm pretty sure that all those companies are heading away onto my boycott list as well. Because again, it's just one thing after another. The 2K games, a lot of their sports games as well, are massively monetized. We've seen with the basketball games, it's actually so outrageously monetized that it's like, it's a wonder anybody still plays those games. And, I mean, they're on thin ice for me personally. I feel like one more thing happens and I think it might be like bye-bye, and that is going to be the hardest thing, because I really want to play Borderlands 3. I love the second one. It's a game that I very much enjoy, and now I have to think very, very carefully about whether there's a company, a publisher that I want to support. And the answer is I don't really want to, but we'll see. They've got one last chance for me, and if they blow that, then yeah, bye me playing Borderlands 3, because unfortunately I don't want to support a company that's that crappy. And I'm not saying that all these companies on this list are the only ones that do bad things, because they're not. These just happen to be the ones that have stick out to me personally, and I've seen consistently do shady things, consistently do things that I disagree with. You know, you've got good examples of free-to-play games. Hero of the Storm is okay. I would say the monetization, and that's a bit wonky. Warframe, Smite. Smite does something cool, where you can basically buy the game for about 35 quid, or you can just play it free-to-play and pick up what you want. Stuff like that's fine. If it's a free-to-play game, there are different expectations to when you buy a game at full price. You know, another good example, Spider-Man PS4 had DLC. People loved it because it was a great game, and then you could buy the DLC afterwards. You've got to be able to inspire your player base to say, hey, that was a really good game that I enjoyed. That was a really good experience that I enjoyed. I will spend more money on your extra content. You know, they'll come back to you. If you can do that, then you're showing to your customers that you're willing to make a good product first, and then you're going to be making extra content for people to play, extra content for people to buy. It shouldn't be the other way around. It shouldn't be let's monetize it. And I know this is how businesses work, basically. They're like, how can we milk our customers? But we're seeing it far too aggressive. That's basically what the problem is. And this is how I feel. At the moment, I feel that some of these companies that I've mentioned are on thin ice, or in the case of Activision, EA, and Rockstar, I am not buying any more of their products. Not until they can prove to make a game where they don't actively, aggressively monetize something, or come out and publicly apologize to their customer base, which probably isn't going to happen, but be upfront with stuff. Be upfront about these things. Then I'll be like, okay, if you can prove to me that you can make a game where you're not going to be screwing over your customer base, I'll come back and I'll buy their products again. But as of right now, it stands EA, Activision, Rockstar, and probably soon to be Take-Two, Gearbox, 2K as well, so that entire like 2K, Take-Two conglomerate thing going on there, because they own all those. Then, you know, like, my games that I'll be buying will be shrinking down as time goes, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to support these companies. Why should I support a company that just actively wants to screw me over? Or at least that's how I feel. And then they don't do much to address a lot of these issues. Bethesda's getting close to that as well. Luckily, they've not done too much stuff, but they definitely need to be like put in their place. I really want to play the new Doom, but if Bethesda make any more dumb decisions, I'll be like, well, maybe that's another company. Warner Brothers. Again, they haven't done anything recently, but they're still a company that's on thin ice. So, for me, this video is just kind of a way to vent a little bit, because I am very frustrated with these companies. I'm sick of the constant crap that they keep putting on their player bases. It's like, leave it out. Just like, why do you need to consistently keep doing this? Start treating your customers like customers that deserve the respect they are for buying your expensive game. And stop trying to shaft them by making them buy all this extra content, or stop, or boosters to make your game play it the actual way it's meant to be played, rather than being like, hey, we're just going to make it a little bit harder, so that forces them to play a bit, buy more microtransactions, buy into the loot boxes. All this stuff, it needs to change, it needs to stop, and I'm hoping that we're going to see like a crackdown on it. I'm glad that Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are working on things for loot boxes to make sure that all their games will show percentages, which is good. It's not a complete result, but it's a step in the right direction. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. I know this is kind of a ranty video. It's a very personal thing to me. This is like something that's been bothering me for a long time. It's not the usual way of doing an opinion machine, but I kind of wanted to show off a game that I kind of like. Haven't played in a while. Coffee Stain, I know got some some weird things with them a few years ago, but I like Sanctum. This game's fun, the Sanctum TD, and I didn't want to show off any of the games from these big companies, so we're stuck watching this dopey little tower defense. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. As always, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to subscribe, or you want to see more of this content, hit subscribe, and obviously comment down below if you've got your own feelings on these developers, publishers, and just your feelings on like aggressive monetization. Because honestly, that is putting me off gaming. That is putting me off buying these products from people. Like, I'll still buy Nintendo, I'll still probably play Sony stuff, I'll probably still play Microsoft stuff, indie games, and other companies that I haven't brought up on this list. But I'm always going to be monitoring companies from now on, because quite frankly, I don't want to give money to a company that doesn't deserve it, doesn't earn my trust. Simple as that. So, yeah, it's going to do it for me today then, guys. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video.